Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast and Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to Gameweek 23. My name is Fergi, and I'm here as usual with Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow in Gameweek 22?
Evening, Fergie. Hi, everyone. I'm afraid the run of green arrows has come to an end after 6 in a row. The 7th one eluded me, mate. It was a tough week last week for most fantasy managers, I think. All the captains blanked, although I think I did have Salah over Palmer, so he got a 1-point gain there. But the curse of Chris Wood continues to haunt me, and I'm blaming him for the red arrow. So 41 points. I think that was four below the average score, so not a huge red compared to some of the ones I've had, but down about 100k places on the week and back out of the top million again. So yeah, a little bit of fight on my hands to get back into the top million now.
Yeah, it was all going well, wasn't it, mate? I'm kind of the same after that. Real aggressive jump of greens. It was a tough week. I've only got myself to blame on my one, really, because I again benched Anthony Robinson for 2 weeks on the trot now. 7 points last week, 8 points this week. I was tossing up between Robinson and João Pedro, and João Pedro scored against United. It was disallowed. So João Pedro is a bit of a thorn in my side at the moment because he. I think every time I think of dropping him, he gets a return. One I've benched and one I've had, but he just haven't been doing an awful lot. But again, they're home to Everton this week. But after this, his run finishes. So I'll be glad to get him out of my team, to be honest, because he's holding me back a touch. But other than that, 46 points. I had a couple more points than you. Smallish red. But yeah, it was that Robinson over Pedro which did it for me. Had Trent, had the whole assist. Chris Wood for me, 12 points. Just we spoke last week. I think everyone knew he was gonna return, but it obviously didn't make sense really for the non-owners to get him in almost for one game week, because I think after this week now, I think they have got a difficult fixture this week. Then their fixtures really do turn nasty, so it kind of made sense. But
yeah. I always thought he was going to score in that game, but it just wasn't really the right game to bring him in with the fixtures ahead and the striker options that are to come that we'll discuss tonight. Really, I knew I was going to take a red last week. Really, it just felt like that. Chris Wood's been amazing, and
but set up.
I don't know what to do.
I think the theme of this pod we'll be talking about. I'm just going to be looking at this coming week, Gameweek 23, and sort of onwards. We'll look at a bit of chip strategy. Rich, you've got a bit to share about the assistant manager chip, but there's also this period now which no one seems to be talking about between Gameweek 25 and 28, which seems to happen every year. I'll never forget. There was a period a few years ago, and I think I reference it every year. It was when Adam was on the pod as well, and Kelechi Iheanacho got something like 4 goals in 2 games or something, but no one was on him because Leicester were blanking in 29 or wherever it was, and it was the same with the Chelsea defence. Had 3 clean sheets out of 4, but they were blanking in 29, so no one was on him. But it seems in chip season, everyone takes their eye off the ball over this period as well. It's really interesting because
it's like
we'll talk.
It's like a demilitarized zone, isn't it?
It is.
Basically, it's like people just keep thinking about there's nothing in between 25 and 29, and in the meantime, there's 400 points going to beg in there. So you might as well have some of them, right?
We will, and we'll talk. And we'll talk about that as well. I just want to apologise because I seem to have messed the cameras up. They're all absolutely fine now, but Catal and Ace, we can't see Rich. We can't see Rich. Just 2 glorious Fergies.
Might have been the dark outfit. I don't know whether that was the cameras or the dark outfit.
No, it was the cameras, mate. It was my bit as I mentioned just before the pod. Had a few days away with the hub in Barcelona. Came back late last night. Bit worse for wear. So it's been a ropey day to be honest. So forgot to set your camera up, Rich, even though it is all right. Done now. It's all fine. Zara said something really good then. Zara Kennedy, João Pedro, all fart and no poo. Absolutely right. Vinny Axe is the best FPL podcast. Really appreciate that. Planning to make 2 free transfers, Gvardiol to Van Dijk and Sarr to Mbeumo. That's interesting. And James Harding, this is the compliment, all compliments, Rich. Shout out to this podcast. Had Gary Anderson crop up in the picture round of a quiz and got it instantly as it looked like Rich. You've just made him look like an absolute legend. And Barry says, why do I take pleasure in seeing podcasters with red arrows? Does that make me a bad person? Absolutely not, Barry. We are human, believe it or not. Rich is. I'm very human, but Rich is human as well. Even though he isn't, he is a machine when it comes to FPL. He is human. Shout out to Ross Johnson, Harry, AP UK, FPL Freddie, and everyone else joining us. Absolutely superb to have you with us this afternoon. Lots to look forward to. Got the fixtures up for the coming weeks. We just realised Spurs are playing in what, hour and a half or something? Are they 6:15 or 7:15 or something? So we should get the teams out for them soon, which will make it interesting to read. And I've got my punt is could be kind of related later. We'll touch on that, but just having a look at the coming few weeks now. Obviously, all the focus has been on Gameweek 24, the double, who to get. We'll talk about that now, and the assistant manager will talk about that as well. Fulham top the charts. They're home to United this week, which is looking like a really good fixture at the moment. A sort of United special, right? They have like 1 or 2 outstanding results, and then just go back to the norm of being so grim. So that's actually looking like a decent fixture for Fulham and Raul Jimenez. They're away to Newcastle. They could potentially double in 25, though it's highly unlikely. The Spurs result may help dictate that later. I think Spurs have to win or close to having to win to avoid a playoff.
I think they have to. 3 results have to happen. Now, I may be getting this wrong, but I think they have to make the top 8 in the Europa League and get through to the EFL Cup final and knock Villa out of the cup. I think they have to do those 3 things for the fixture to be arranged, but that won't stop them maybe provisionally arranging it based on those 3 outcomes. So we may hear next week pre-24 if that provisional fixture gets announced. So that changes quite a bit because it suddenly creates a double for those looking to play the assistant managership.
It does, but I think all those
that might tip a few people that way. I think
a lot has to happen for that to happen.
Yes.
And Ben Crellin has got it down as like a 20% chance, so like 1 in 5. So it is very unlikely. I don't think we should plan for it again. Just maybe have it in the back of my mind. Things like that's probably why I'm holding on to Robinson, maybe just because it's just there in the back of my mind. So Fulham at top, Spurs are second, home to Leicester 23. That's looking a bit of a plum fixture at the moment. Away to Brentford, home to United, potentially a double. Away to Fulham, and also a chance for a double, and away to Ipswich in 26, which again, after City mauled them last week, it's looking like a really good fixture. Everton obviously have the double in 24, out to Liverpool. Liverpool's fixtures, Rich, my goodness, I was just looking from 25 to 28 as well. They're home to Ipswich this week, which is as good as it gets. They then got a double. They're then home to Wolves, then away to Man City. Then they've got back-to-back home game, nice, really home game. Home to Newcastle, home to Southampton, 27 and 28. I mean, their run just goes on and on. I think I remember saying this really early in the season. Game week 10 or 11 when I jumped on Salah. So I looked at the fixtures, and Liverpool haven't really got a difficult fixture. They're away to City in 26. It's not that difficult, but I haven't got Arsenal to like 32 or 33. So they had this run between like 10 and 32, for example. 22 game weeks, only 1 difficult fixture in, which is immense, isn't it? Villa's fixtures are nice as well for the coming 4. Home to West Ham, away to Wolves, home to Ipswich. Their next 3 in particular are really good. Right down the bottom, Wolves, West Ham, Man City and Forest fixtures take a turn for the worse. Thank goodness, says Rich, after the punishment of Chris Wood. But yeah, where's your head at, Rich, in terms of the next few weeks? Are you targeting any teams outside of the double or?
I quite like Brentford.
Yeah.
I think the ticker gives that Tottenham fixture a kind of red colour, and I think that's not really correct. It's rated as a 4, I think, on the official FDR by the Premier League, and I think Tottenham in the state they're in at the moment, you'd have to say Brentford being home to Tottenham, that's a really good fixture for Brentford.
Absolutely.
And so people are piling back into Mbeumo and Wissa as non-double game week options, and we'll talk about them in some detail later. So I do like Brentford, but maybe I can leave it for a couple of weeks. I think we haven't heard you say double game week fever yet,
Not
Fergie.
quite, maybe. I haven't got the
Maybe
fever.
you're saving that for next week, but
Yeah.
it's coming, and there's no harm in starting to focus on assets for that now. Be it either saving a transfer this week or piling in early to get some price swings. So, yeah, definitely mind on Liverpool third asset. Um, we talk about Everton, but I'm really not sure. Having gone Calvert-Lewin over Wood, that's left some scars.
Calvert-Lewin, mate,
And
last weekend. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know he's back.
He's
He's back.
back.
How worryingly back. So yeah, Everton are there, but I think they're really a bit of a kind of occupy a false position because of that extra game. And you can't really ignore Bournemouth after they dealt an absolute hiding out to
Incredible.
Newcastle. I watched that game on Saturday, and they were absolutely brilliant. So, unfortunately, I think you and I played each other in sleeper last weekend, and I benched Justin Kluivert for the second hat trick in a row this season. So, had I played him,
You
I'd
would
have
have
won.
won. You would have,
Yeah,
Rich. When you
yeah.
messaged me and said I can't believe I've benched Clive, I thought, oh, who's the lucky swine who's benefited from that? And it was indeed myself. So
Yeah.
I'll take that, Rich. I was quite pleased. Yeah, Bournemouth's fixtures from game week 25 away to Southampton, home to Wolves. They're two really really good fixtures. I'm sure. Semenyo, for example, a Clivert, Kirkes potentially
Yeah.
will be back on the menu then. So yeah, we'll touch a bit more maybe next week and when we're back ahead of game week 25 because you're away next week, aren't you, Rich? We've got Ben
Hmm.
Crellin on next week. We've got a lot more information now about about the chips, about some strategies. So Ben will be on with myself and someone else next week to give his expert opinion. He's having another incredible season. I think he's something like 13K. I just don't know how he does it year in year out. It's unbelievable. So yeah, Ben always gives us that edge, doesn't he? So we'll have him next week when you're on holiday, Rich, and we'll have someone else on. So let's just have a quick look. I know we spoke a lot last week, so we don't want to sort of dwell on these players. But firstly, Liverpool, Salah and Trent is probably fair to say are the top two. Last week we were a bit torn between maybe Gakpo, Allison, and Virgil as the third. Has your plan changed? Is it team dependent, or what's your
I,
current thinking?
I think it's very team dependent. I think we've got to look. You've got to look at your own team and see how easily you can get to a player. I would say the general consensus, and I agree with this, is that if you can get to Gakpo in one move,
Mm.
I would say do it. I wouldn't overthink it. He very likely to start against Ipswich because he's got a complete rest in the Champions League this week. He's kindly priced, and there are a number of players who fantasy managers might want to sell. A lot of people with Solanke that they need to get off. They might still have Cunha or a slot that they can easily move to Cunha or have the money in the bank to jump up there in one move. If you can do that, I'd go Cunha. If you can't and you need to do 2 to 3 moves to get Gakpo in, I would say look at an alternative. I mean, it would probably take me 3 moves to generate the cash to upgrade Jimenez or João Pedro to Gakpo. So I am looking at Allison as a straight swap for Raya. I really like that move, and we can discuss it more later on. But I just think that's such an easy move to make with these 4 games. Plus, I really like this, and Ben Krellin's done this move, so um, it gives you the extra substitute spot, ahead in game week 29 because you can sub him, put him on the bench, play Fabianski, get through 29, and you have one less transfer to make there too in terms of transferring out these Liverpool assets if they make the EFL Cup final. So lots of ifs and buts there,
What ifs, mate, isn't it?
but
Well,
it just gives you that
yeah,
extra
yeah.
transfer flexibility going into game week 29. So I really like Allison. You mentioned the fixtures for Liverpool; they're great all the way for 10 games, and also Arsenal haven't been that great, have they? Recently, they've lost Saliba, so a lot of us sitting on Arsenal defensive double ups. They play City next week, so lots of reasons to sort of come off the Arsenal defence a little bit. So I really like that move. That would be my second choice. Kanate seems to be okay, but he's carrying
Yeah.
injuries. And Virgil van Dijk, I think you've got on the slide. I think he's always good in a double game week. Often comes up with a headed goal during a double game week. So nothing wrong with Van Dijk either, but he is expensive.
Mm.
And at a time where maybe moving money out of defences, I think perhaps Alisson edges him out there. So those are my thoughts on Liverpool. What do you think? Do you think differently?
I think I can't get excited about Liverpool. I get it, and maybe this is where our strategies differ. Is you're very much a forward thinking, say a safer play, but Alisson is very much a safer play than Gakpo or Luis Diaz, for example. They've got higher ceilings, but you are potentially compromising part of your team. I say my very loose plan is probably to go João Pedro. Their next two, away to Forest, home to Chelsea, I think are tough games. So I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go João Pedro to Gakpo. I think all being equal at the moment, but as you rightly said, I do need to make a move to enable that. So I need to think about what that is. If it was something like I've already got Mbeumo. So if I didn't have Mbeumo, I would be thinking of maybe who could I take down to Mbeumo, because I want to do that move anyway, which you may want to do, for example. You may want to do someone down to Mbeumo to enable a Gakpo move, which would make really good sense, because you're not just doing a move for a move's sake then. You're not just using a transfer to release funds there. But I think I'll be going for Gakpo as it stands, unless I get an injury in midfield, in which case I am tempted by Luis Diaz, because I think that the Jota injury kind of opens him back up as an option, and he's gone through phases this season, really explosive phases where I think he'd be low owned, and I think you can see him in over this run between 23 and 25. You can see Diaz and Gakpo, I think, getting a game where they have like 2 goals in one game, for example, or something, which is really what you're after. So I can't get excited about Alisson at all. At all. I personally think Bournemouth definitely score against Liverpool. Maybe not Everton, maybe a bit closer. So I think Alisson's ceiling of the 2 games is maybe 8 points, maybe 9 with a save point. Whereas I think Diaz and Gakpo, I would expect
could be much higher.
I think it'd be much. I think you could be between sort of 12 and 20 over the 2 games. Again, you need that bit of luck, right? But so I think that's my thoughts.
Yeah, good.
I definitely prefer Virgil over Alisson, because I do agree with you. Virgil, he's always he's had so many corners. He's had so many headers off corners that have either been saved or just wide. And I only know because there's always a bet. There's always a bet boost on one of the betting to always have a Van Dijk header boost. So I always look out for it. It's like boosted to like 14-1 or something. So I always look out for it. And there was a game a few weeks ago where I think he had 3 headers or 4 headers off corners, and they all just saved or brushed past the post or skimmed, headed just wide, or wherever else. So he's there or thereabouts. I'm not sure his XG would kind of match it. He definitely had the attacking returns to back it, but from the eye test, he wins a lot of headers in those positions. So I think it's a matter of time before he gets a couple of goals as well. Yeah, I think that's the view on Liverpool. Definitely Salah and Trent. We've got the Spurs team. Thank you to Michael Brooker who put it in the chat. They've gone for Austin in goal, so it looks like Forster's definitely lost his place. But other than that, they've gone really strong. They've gone Porro, Dragusin, Davis, Gray. I say strong in the context of the kind of players they've actually got available.
Resting players.
They've got kids. Wait to see their bench. So Porro, Dragusin, Davis, Gray, Bergval, Bentancur, Madison, Kulusevski, Richarlison, and Son. So that's about as strong as they get. Subs: Forster, Whiteman, Hardy, Casanova, Ajayi, Olusesi, Mikey Moore, and Will Lancashire. That's their bench. So, and I reckon that will also be very likely their bench potentially on the weekend against Leicester. So I think they may have a couple back. I know Romero, Van de Ven, and Sarr might be reasonably close, but yeah, they've gone strong, Spurs, which is interesting. If I don't think the game will start before we finish. But yeah, we will see. Hello there, Jovan, and Carlos asks, would you do Wood to Gakpo?
Yeah, interesting. I'm wondering what
like it.
percentage of the masses are going to do that move. Actually, if you've got you don't even necessarily need more than 500,000 to do that move, do you? So very tempting given the fixtures.
I would if I could get that in one move this week. I think I can't do it because I haven't got the money, but the run starts now for Liverpool. Even though they doubled in 24, Ipswich just got smashed 6-0. There could have been more. And
yeah. This could be 8 or 9, couldn't it, at Liverpool? I mean, it's like
this is the time, and these are this is the thing in fantasy, right? It's not about waiting for the time when everyone else is going to do something because everyone else is going to do it next week. The time to do it, if you're going to do it, for me, is now. This is the week to go all in and do it and get the points before everyone else does. So you're not only do you get the points this week, but you'd also move ahead of everyone else. So next week you can think, right, what's my next move? Well, everyone else is then clamoring to get Gakpo's just got a goal and assist or 2 goals or something. So I'd be all over it personally if I had the money, but I haven't. We'll touch on Everton, Rich. Again, it's pretty hard to get excited about Everton. I did mention Calvert-Lewin. I think I got laughed at by yourself, by Gian, and by the chat. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin did all right against Spurs. Really tidy goal. And yeah, do you think he's an option, Rich, or not? And please, you need to put your own biases aside here. You need to be really objective.
Put my own biases aside. I think if you are happy to have Calvert-Lewin for the double and play him, and then put him on your bench afterwards because he's only 5.4 million. Yeah. I think he could well be the cheapest player in most squads because I think Rodgers is 5.5 now, Ahmad's 5.5. Then if you literally have enough transfers, 3, 4, 5 transfers, and you want a punt on the double game because you're feeling that 4 players is a bit light, then and I think I am considering it because I've got 2. There's a different reason. There is a connected reason because I can the 0.2 that I can get for it would allow me to do, say, Gordon to Mbeumo in Gameweek 25.
It is.
And that's just that extra little bit of enablement from the money that I think is worth it. Not necessarily that he's going to get huge returns. It's just there to cover the Everton attack, right? So if you cover both attacks in the double and you cover both defences, you're covering all results, aren't you? If you get the derby as a 0-0, you want defensive assets. But if they turn out to put in a performance against Leicester and win that 3 or 4-0, then you want some attacking involvement. Absolutely. So you're really covering both sets of things. That's why Gakpo makes a really good sense, or Diaz, to your point, because everyone's got Salah. It's not going to make any difference unless he will if you triple captain him. But you're not really getting huge return from those Liverpool thrashings if you don't have a second attacker, and equally you're not going to get anything out of Everton if you don't have one attacker. So would you go Calvert-Lewin because of the pens, or would you consider Ndiaye?
I would go for Calvert-Lewin, and I said this last week, and I'm always really, and maybe I overread it. I probably do, right? But I'm paraphrasing as I always do. But Moyes said, "I want that Calvert-Lewin is the one person who can turn this team around, or something along those lines." And the first week back, returns against Spurs. I appreciate Spurs are dreadful at the back, right? But Leicester are worse. And that in that Leicester game, and who's to say they can't score against Liverpool? Like Alisson makes a lot of saves. The reason he makes a lot of saves is because they give up a lot of chances. So I like Calvert-Lewin for the double. I really, really do. And fixtures are not fantastic either side. So they away to Brighton in 23, away to Palace in 25. But for the double in isolation, and for your point, what you said, where it actually helps you, talked about this a bit earlier. Yeah. It's not just that one move in isolation, right? It's the thing. So I really, really like it. I'm tempted to actually try and, I'm not sure. No, I can't afford it. Can I afford? I don't think I can afford it. Wood and João Pedro to Gakpo and Calvert-Lewin for I could have five. I'm getting excited, mate. This is the time of the season where you know what happens.
Yeah. 5 double. It's double game week fever.
I've got to have Hwang.
Yeah.
But yeah, FPL Spartans just said, I have to go shortly. We'll watch back later. Can I guess Fergie's punt? He said, is it Richarlison? The answer is no, it's not Richarlison, FPL Spartans. You have to catch up later. Di Thomas, our friend Rich, is in the chat as well.
Golf buddy.
On the way back to God's country, looking forward to Gakpo Hall. Is it worth Jackson to Gakpo? Get on it. Get on it.
Yes, definitely.
Get
Die. Do it, Die.
Do it. Get on Gakpo this weekend if you're thinking about it. I mean, if this is a general point. If you're not going to get on Gakpo this weekend at home to Ipswich, when are you going to do it? Like, just don't see the point. If you can do it,
Jackson or Solanke, or you've got the money to go up from Wood, do it.
Do it. Absolutely.
Yes.
I've got Pickford in goal, but that's only because Everton were half decent defensively a couple of months ago. They're not anymore. They may improve under Moyes. They may get a clean sheet against Leicester. May get 8 points over the double. Happy to hold. I don't think I'd be buying though. I don't think I'd be buying, but I'll have him for the hold.
It doesn't feel like even again if the 0.6, if you're coming off Raya and the 0.6 gets you to Gakpo, I think you can say those extra 2 fixtures probably worth it. But carrying Pickford for 6-7 weeks feels too much, doesn't it? It feels like too long. It's a real feels like a 1 week punt really. So yeah, I'm less cool on Pickford. I'm a bit like you. I've got Mikalenko, from the wild card. He's never been sold. He's just been hanging around on my bench, getting 1 and 2 pointers. But I'm sure he's going to come roaring back this week with a pair of clean sheets and an assist for game week 24. So yeah, Mikalenko, decent pick, very cheap. So he can be your 5th defender. And again, we'll possibly have a game in 29. So again, they can be useful for helping you in that week too, if you are thinking of running through. So you like Mikalenko, and glad I got him. So yeah, I think 1 or 2 Everton is absolutely fine. You do not need to have 3.
No, you don't.
You will regret having 3.
Well, we'll touch on Carlos' point in the chat in a second. So Carlos Bambos, he says, now you can save 5 transfers. I think wildcard now isn't that bad to set up for the double and can easily navigate transfers 4 or 5 in the bank. Now, that's obviously a very aggressive way to play. And if you haven't got any Liverpool, which obviously you should have at least Salah, maybe it's not the first thing. But we're going to look at some chip strategy stuff now. Well, Rich is going to explain it because I've been out of the loop and Rich, you've been all over it, so you can explain it now. But yeah, I've been interested in the whole point, Rich. What we kind of touched on it just before we came on air, didn't we? About this whole point between 25 and 28, which is kind of being overlooked at the moment, but also because we've got so many transfers now. Because like if you save this week, Rich, you're gonna have four transfers. 4. Even if you use 1 or 2. And then have another one or whatever else. You could be going into like 29 or 30, or we could be going into 29 or 30 with potentially with 3, 4, 5 transfers with a wild card and chip to play every game week. We've never been in this position before, so I'd just like to touch on that maybe a little bit later. But a couple of other players before we look at the chips. You've got Mateta, Kluivert, Visser, Kirkes, and Mbeumo. I think we touched on them. You touched on Bournemouth, touched on Brentford. Mateta looks really, really strong as well. These are the non-double game week target. I don't think we'll be looking at any of them probably this week. It'll be kind of save or Liverpool, won't it? But interesting players there. Are you thinking of getting any of these maybe this week, or is it all just Operation Save or Liverpool at the moment?
I think personally, I'm not going to be. If I do anything, it'll be to get a double game weeker in this week, just to play that Ipswich fixture. I do like Brentford, as I said, but they are away to Palace, I think, this week, which is not an easy fixture. Right. Palace are going quite well. I could see that being a score draw or something like that. So I don't think it's essential to bring in Brentford, but they're back on the radar. I think that's the important thing. And Bournemouth also, look like a great value team to invest in off the back of that Newcastle result, full of confidence. And they're decent fixtures apart from Liverpool, really. I think Bournemouth are worth investing in, but perhaps not this week. I think all of these options, really, you've got to wait before putting further money, I think, into Crystal Palace for the EFL Cup outcomes, which will come between game week 24 and 25. So I wouldn't necessarily be buying Mateta or buying Sarr or buying Munoz until we know that maybe Palace don't blank in game week 29, then they become attractive, more attractive to invest in. But to your point earlier, there's that big void of games between 25 and 29. Do you go after the points while Mateta is hot? I mean, Mateta's certainly a hold. I've seen teams with him in, and he looks really good for the next few
does.
weeks. A real confidence player. Scored a brace last week, and he's hogging the pens from Eze. So yeah, Mateta's good if you've got him, but I'm not sure I'd be investing in another player that would blank. I mean, I could have a full team of blankers if I keep going. So that'll put pay to the thing. If you want a free hit 29 and you think sod this, I'm
Exactly.
just going to ride the wave. I'll just take them all through, because the other thing about Palace, I think, is that obviously the 29 assets who blank will double in 33, or likely double in 33. So therefore, if you carry them through and hold on to your wild card, you're already set for a bench boost or a big double game week. So there's lots of ways to play this. Not necessarily the best thing to do to ride through 29 just because the content has swayed that way.
Absolutely. Quick look at predicted points for the next few game weeks. Salah streets ahead on 40. Palmer second 29. Isak 28. Haaland 26. Trent 25. Luis Diaz and Gakpo, so they're very, very close together. 24, as we said. Watkins 23.
Mm-hmm.
Foden 22. De Bruyne 21. We've seen an uptick, even though their fixtures are quite tough. Foden and De Bruyne, we definitely seen an uptick in form. Well, from goal scoring anyway. Definitely over the last 2 or 3 games. Odegaard, Ahmad, Son, Alisson is 21. So just the argument earlier, Rich, Alisson's only 3 predicted points behind Diaz and Gakpo. Visser and Buemo are there, as you mentioned. I really like Brentford and Palace. And I think I'm just trying to think of, because I like to have fun as well, Rich, while I'm playing, and I don't just like to coast through 5 game weeks just because this may or may not happen, right? And I've already.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard. I was watching a bit of content. I've watched a lot of content this week, and I think I was just give a bit of credit out to Sam on who got the assist. He man after my own heart, really. He basically said, having 5 transfers feels like the chip that has to be earned, and I really like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. It really resonates with the enforced patience that you have to put yourself through to not make luxury moves and go after the new toy in the shop, because accumulating 5 transfers, which a number of content creators have now done, that's a hell of a feat, because you've got to go over a month without making a transfer. You've got to escape injuries. You've got to avoid all the form picks, and it's not easily done to get to that point. But it does feel like we used to call 3 transfers with a hit a mini wild card. So 5 transfers with a hit is a normal wild card almost. You're almost earning another wild card there by having that, and it's a very different situation.
I think I'm gonna. I think I'm going to use mine. I think I'm going to attack. I think I'm going to attack 24. I think I'm going to attack Brentford and Palace from 25 to 28. I think I'm going to free hit in 29. I think I'm going to wild card in 30. I think that I just think there's opportunity there, and I do this every year, and it generally doesn't work. But also I think the fixtures, particularly for Brentford, in home to Spurs in 24, is a fantastic fixture for Brentford. Brilliant fixture. Spurs are so depleted, and they're defensively crap when they're not depleted. Away to West Ham, away to Leicester, home to Everton, home to Villa. They're all over that, mate. I'm doubling up on this.
It's another reason to save a transfer, isn't it? Because if you just hold off one more week and get another transfer banked, you can sort your Liverpool 3rd asset out according to whatever you want to go to. You can, but like you say, there's so many different ways to go next week, and splash all the double game week players out on not just doublers, but Brentford as well. Pile back into Brentford, get Wisser in, blah blah blah, and just really have a ball with it. Because I think there's a lot of talk about Brentford going pretty nuts after this week.
Exciting. And Palace as well. They've got home to Everton, away to Fulham, home to Villa, home to Ipswich in 28 as well. Palace are so. I like that period.
Yeah.
Free hit in 20, wildcard in 30, and then assistant manager chip, which we were going to touch on now, Rich. So you've got we've got a bit of data here. You sent them over today. I haven't had the headspace. I haven't been sober enough to be able to get my head around it. So we've got the mean and means of them now, courtesy of Rob TFPL. If you don't follow him on Twitter, make sure you do. But Rich, you need to talk me through this, mate.
Okay, right. Well, the green arrow gets analytical. Here we go. Right. So, not being a particularly analytical manager myself, we've got Victoria Beckham over on the left, and we've got Pamela Anderson, the wife, over on the right. So, I'll try and explain what this means.
Are we listening to the right podcast? I was listening to this one last night in bed.
So for those that don't know Rob T, he's the guy that goes out each week and produces the match odds for each of the fixtures, and they often appear on a lot of other podcasts in terms of the odds for the clean sheet, the odds for the team win, and the odds for different players scoring in terms of expected goals. And we rely on them a lot across the FPL community. But what Rob's gone and done is he's gone back over 9 years worth of actual data and simulated if the assistant managership was available for 3-week periods between game weeks 24 and 38 for each of those seasons, and then produced a series of tables. And all this data is available via Rob T. You can look at every match, all the top scoring returns in terms of the assistant manager, and which teams did the best over the time. And some of the scores that are coming out from individual game weeks, not just 3 concatenated game weeks, are sort of 41 to 50 points, is possible in a single game week from this chip. So this chip, if you absolutely smash it, has the potential to get you up to 100 points.
Goodness
if you
me.
absolutely nail it. So it becomes the most powerful chip, above a wild card, above a free hit, above anything. And therefore the timing of it and when it is played is really, really significant. So the reason I pulled this slide out and wanted to share it here is that this relates to table bonus, and that the key thing here, the axis on the left hand side, is the actual number of expected or predicted points for the assistant manager in a given game week. But the axis along the bottom talks about the pre-match market odds of winning, which you get before the game week is played. Yeah. The bookies issue those odds. They appear on the podcasts. And so you can see each week whether a team that's playing a team 5 or more places above it has a certain percentage chance of winning. And it won't always be less than 30%. But the significant thing across 9 years worth of data, and what you can see from the more buxom shape on the right hand side, is that there is a far greater chance of scoring points between, say, 15 and 25 in a given game week if the pre-match odds of winning are greater than or equal to 30%. So that is a key stat. So people who are out there who want to plan can look ahead at the weeks to come, particularly in the run-in in the season, where some teams will be on the beach, some teams' league position may well belie their ability. So take a team like Tottenham or Manchester United, big teams having poor seasons, okay? I think no one would argue with that. Currently languishing in the lower half of the league. Both those teams, as we've seen in recent weeks, with Tottenham beating Man City 4-0, with United beating Arsenal, with United drawing with Liverpool, have both teams on their day can beat anyone.
Absolutely.
But you're going to qualify for a team bonus. Let's say one of those teams plays Nottingham Forest in a given week at home. They may well have a greater than 30% chance of winning that match on the team odds. And therefore, that's the window that you could identify 1 or 2 key fixtures that will allow you to play the assistant manager chip and play the upside. Now, there's still risk with this, obviously, but for people who are chasing, for people looking for that really big return, I think that statistic is significant.
So from game week. Sorry, we've also got another chart which I'd just like to show first, Rich, just before we go to the conclusions, which is obviously the really important part for me and probably
Yeah.
a lot of watchers and followers. But this is from Premier League Tools, which is a really, really interesting chart. Rich, you just want to touch on this before we we draw
Of
the
course.
conclusions.
Yeah, I think in conjunction with
Yeah.
that statistical analysis, there's another site to call out, Premier Fantasy Tools. A guy called Mark who runs that, an active member of the community, does a lot of the all-time manager ranks and stuff. So Mark has produced this. This is the Assistant Manager Planner. Now it's far too granular to walk through on this show, and it looks like a very detailed Scrabble board to me when you look at it. But what you've got here is a forecast and a fixture difficulty rating for every team's fixtures in the run-in in 3 game week or 3 fixture or 4 fixture bands, according to whether there's a double or not, between game week 34 and game week 36, which is the last reasonable week you'd play the chip. So what that shows on here is the expected points from a win or draw or loss perspective, plus the team manager bonus likelihood that could come for each team during the run-in. And also teams that are ranked 5 places above the team on the left are also circled in blue or bordered in blue to show you where there is an eligible team manager bonus for that week. So that, again, if people really want to get into planning, they can go through team by team and week by week and pick out candidate game weeks now between the end now and the end of the season when they might want to play the assistant manager chip. So I think this is a great, another great piece of work that you can use in conjunction with the win odds that we talked about, earlier to really try and nail down your best chance of winning. Now, I'm not saying that's the best way to play the chip, and we'll come on to the conclusions in a second. But if you want to go for it, these are two great tools that you can use to help you plan.
We'd also add our chip strategy guide on Fantasy Football Hub is also now live as well. But yeah, Rich. So Ross Johnson has just put in the chat, hungover Fergie trying to make sense of these charts is exactly why I pay my membership. That's exactly how I feel, Ross. So let's come on to the important bit. Go on, mate. What does this mean for?
Well, okay. I've got to wait for the lag so I can actually read off what I concluded. But I think, what this really shows, and I think the first point is that game week 24 is certainly not the be-all and end-all week to play the assistant manager chip. It is available, and obviously there's a safe play to make by playing it on Liverpool and just, maybe getting some mid points back. You're far more likely to get a reasonable score if you play your assistant manager chip on one of the top teams. But I think that really doing that is better if you are already high up in the rankings. You're looking to consolidate your rank, get a little bit higher, but then you've got to hold off for the rest of the season while everybody else plays their assistant manager chip and comes at you. So you if you're out in front, it may be a tactic, but I'm not sure it's the best and optimal time to use the chip based on my subjective conclusions from looking at it this week. It could be right for some. It might be right for some managers who want to play safe and just win a mini league, beat a mate, whatever it might be. But if you're going for overall rank, I think it may not be the optimal time. In late season, the second point is that clear paths will emerge and big opportunity to play the upside will come through. Yeah, there's no way that teams, this year's Crystal Palace, someone's going to hit form, buy the right players in the transfer window, maybe get a new manager, and suddenly going to go on a run, and they're going to be in a low league position, and they're going to start beating teams above them. All of a sudden, a fixture run of 3 games will come up with maybe 2 or 3 team manager bonuses available, and there will be an irresistible option to play the assistant manager chip.
And it's really difficult to spot that now, really. You've already said that Spurs and Man United are probably in, I wouldn't say they're not in false positions for how they've played, but for their potential, they're probably, in false positions. But we always see, don't we, after game week 30, when all of a sudden the teams down the bottom, as you say, maybe get a new manager, or they maybe get, they suddenly realise, geez, we have to start winning soon, and teams also start going on the beach as well. The teams from
They do.
9th to 13th.
And we had Ian Parrin on last night with the Ultras, and basically he was great, and he just pointed out, he said, that you're going to get huge more upside, bigger win odds, plus the teams being on the beach having nothing to play for, but you've got teams who are going for European spots,
that's right,
maybe are down the table, and other teams who maybe are playing, they've got nothing to play for, start rotating because of European games and other trophies to go for, and you will have big opportunities. So I really like the idea of playing it late in the season, particularly as I'm chasing or will be chasing, and I just think if it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off. There is more chance of crashing and burning if you put it on a lowly team, but I don't think you'll necessarily have to play it on a lowly team based on some of the big teams that are down the table at the moment. So, but if you want to,
I also feel on 24, there's lots of people thinking of playing it in 24, 25, and 26 and taking advantage of the double and stuff. But there's only 2 teams of doubling. You're probably not going to want to triple up on Everton or get Moyes, I'm guessing. Whereas when you have the bigger doubles later in the season, you can maximize the teams and switch it around. Whereas now you're not going to probably want, Salah, Trent, and Slot. Is personally anyway, and again, we're all learning, right? There doesn't seem to be that much upside. It doesn't seem to be that much upside on that, because you're taking a Liverpool spot for the one major team that is doubling, whereas later on in the season, when you have the bigger doubles, there's probably a couple of teams. You can maximize the bigger teams and get the 3 from those teams, as well as get the manager. So I just feel in 24 and 25, it doesn't seem to be enough opportunity for me to use the chip.
And it's also attractive it's more attractive to use it if you have already used your triple captain. So there's a significant percentage of the game who use their triple captain earlier this season on Haaland, and when he was on fire and did very well. But if you haven't got that, there is a temptation to play a chip this week, and therefore you could use it. But I don't think the likes of Liverpool have that higher ceiling. You might get 30 points, but that would rely on Liverpool winning maybe all 3 games. So that's not necessarily going to happen. But that's just my thoughts. That people may disagree and go ahead and use it anyway. But I really thought those bits of work were worth pointing out to viewers, and draw whatever conclusions you may from it. But it's actually helped me cement my thinking over not using it just yet and just learning some more. And there'll be plenty of content pointing out opportunities as we go through the season.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's so hard to plan, because we just don't know the position that the teams are going to be in that time. We don't normally have this with teams. It doesn't matter normally, when we look at a Man City or Liverpool double in the future from this far out, it doesn't matter where they are in the league, and they're still great players regardless. But we're not talking about the players, the actual manager or players with this chip. We're talking about the team as a whole. I know we're saying, I'm going to go for Glasner, I'm going to go for Amarin.
It's a misnomer. It's a misnomer.
It's the team. It doesn't matter if the manager gets sat like now. You may be I'm going for whoever it is, a certain manager. It's not the manager you're picking. It's the team, isn't it? So you don't know where they're going to be. You don't know what form they're going to be on. As we know, time and time and time again, form changes so quickly. And the whole thing just flips on its head, doesn't it? And things will become a lot more obvious later down the line.
Absolutely. Now, if Tottenham win tonight and they get in the top 8 of the Europa League, with one game to go, you watch what happens tomorrow. The content will all start talking about Tottenham doubling in game week 25, and we'll have a week of this, because we won't actually know.
It's not until the week
after, until next week. But then if they win next week and confirm that thing, then all they've got to do is go to Liverpool and get a draw, and then beat Aston Villa. And then if Postecoglou gets sacked and a new manager comes in and sorts them all out and actually gets them to defend,
Well,
then all of a sudden you've now got those that are sitting on that 3-game period who've gone for the AM will now be able to swap to the new manager of Tottenham and potentially get a double game week in game week 25.
but
And so therefore,
we're not going to know about the 25 double
know.
pre-24.
Yeah, but I bet you'll get into this with Ben next week, particularly if they're sitting in the top 8 next Thursday. Because Ben will be thinking about
but you're
this.
betting on Spurs to get past Liverpool. That's the crunch, right? Even now, there's I think it's 65% chance Liverpool will go through. As much, a massive, and even if that does happen, that's still not to say that they'll double in 25. So, even if all these things were true, Ben thinks there's a chance it might go there. It might not. It might go later in the season. So
of course.
It's all these things, these unlikely things all have to happen for it to have a small chance of happening. So
yeah, I know, but there are in a game week last season we had something like 14 double game weeks.
Yeah,
it felt like that anyway.
Yeah,
this season we got 3, right? So to have a double when you've only got such a few amount of game weeks, you won't get unlikely to get a double in 33, 34 or 36, 37, that kind of thing. So it is an opportunity if people want to punt it. But I would just say hold on to it, really.
If I'm talking to Ben next week about all this, I'm going to have to sleep 10 hours every night, go to the gym and eat salad just for that whole week leading up to chatting with Ben, just for me to get my head around it all. It is incredibly confusing, and the multiple ifs are just crazy. Quick look at the Hub AI Game Week 23 wildcard team, and it has gone double game week fever crazy, Rich, because it's gone for triple Liverpool and triple Everton over the next few weeks. So Pickford and Valdemarson in goal. Trent, Gabriel, Munoz, Mikalenko and O'Shea. Midfield of Salah, Palmer, Luis Diaz, Ahmad and Semenyo. I mean, you can't argue with any of this. And then Isak, João Pedro and Calvert-Lewin up front. So it's got Calvert-Lewin and Mikalenko on the bench, obviously ahead of the double in 25. But pretty smart team there.
It still likes João Pedro. So a lot of people thinking of ditching João Pedro. He's a bit of a fall guy this week for Gakpo or Calvert-Lewin next week. But yeah, Hub AI likes João Pedro, which is reassuring. Still likes Gabriel, which I'm quite surprised about.
Yeah.
I thought it would be maybe putting another Everton defender in there, or maybe a Liverpool defensive double up. But yeah, and it hasn't gone for Gakpo. That's the interesting thing. It's not picked Gakpo. So, why do you think that?
Well, is? I know why. So we looked at the AI team this morning, and Gakpo was in it, and we just had a look at Luis Diaz, and we were just thinking why, just more of interest. Why is it going for Gakpo over Luis Diaz? And because we didn't have Luis Diaz in the player pool to actually be part of this team, so we added him into the player pool as in he was a consideration to play, because Diaz was kind of losing minutes due to the Jota sort of playing a few and whatever else.
You upped his minutes a bit.
So Diaz, we just sort of stuck him in the pool, and what it's done is now brought Calvert-Lewin and Diaz in, and it's taken Gakpo, and I can't remember who the midfielder was out. I think it might have been Ismaila Sarr, actually.
Might have been, and Mbuemo's not in there as well.
And Mbuemo's not in there, interestingly. So yeah, you got to remember it's all price points as well in there, right? So it's got João Pedro and Calvert-Lewin 5.6 and 5.4, which I personally wouldn't be keen on, because you're kind of tying yourself down to that price point. If you want to get to a 6 or a Visser or a Wood, or a Wood or someone like that. But it's interesting. Like I said, I like looking at this because it just pulls out some players sometimes and some formations that you think, because this is the first time it's gone for 5 in midfield as well. It normally is put like Diblin in there for most of the season, having it at 4.5, but it's gone for 5 in midfield, for example. So Yeah, it is interesting.
Interesting one. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Albert Lewis predicted 7.7 points, and that even with his dire, for the double, that's even with his dire form this season. So I expect more off that at him. Double, but yeah.
Very good.
Best captain for this week. Probably not much point dwelling on one for this week, mate. Probably the easiest one we've had, apart from Haaland in game week 9. Probably the easiest one we've had all season.
Well, I mean, if you're feeling brave, Isak against Southampton, that is a very good vice captain, isn't it? I mean, you could even. I don't know. No, I don't think Salah's going to get benched this week. I think basically Isak, if you're brave, if you really want to take it on, but Salah, I think for the next 4 weeks looks a pretty good bet.
Ridiculous, mate. Crazy. Andrew Barton has chucked in the chat. All this talk of Liverpool and the game might not go ahead. There's a major storm moving late tonight and circulating up the north area. I only know this to be true because there's an amber weather warning all through Wales, and it's happened the last 3 of the last 6 weeks. And it's always, we had the Everton Liverpool match was called off. The last Liverpool match, I think, had an inspection, didn't it? Due to snow, that was different.
Yep.
But another weather.
Oh, there'll definitely be some community scaremongering going on in the next 24 hours then. Yeah, maybe hold those transfers till Saturday lunchtime, guys.
You'll have all the people up in up in Liverpool holding up leaves going, look how windy it is, or whatever else. And look,
well, it was cancelled. It was cancelled before for high winds, wasn't it? That was why it was cancelled.
It was 90-mile-an-hour winds or something like that. So it's not, it may
not out of the question.
It's not out of the question. Thank goodness we've got strong benches. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens with that. Fergie's a punt for game week 23. It's probably a 1 week punt this week, but I do like it this week. So we know my team Spurs going through it at the moment. Their team is down to the bare. We used to say to the bare bones. We used to say that, mate.
Bare bones, yeah.
Which manager was it used to say that? Down to the bare bones. Was it Harry Redknapp? I can't remember. Someone used to it. But this week, with Johnson out, whole host of players out. This player 6% owned. He's had a very good season. He's missed quite a bit recently. He's been benched a few times, but I just can't see him being benched over this run of games. I just think home to Leicester is a fabulous fixture. And I just think if you're looking for something just a little bit different, I am going to talk up James Maddison for these next 2 or 3 games. So I think the way Spurs are going to line up, Kulusevski probably move over onto the right-hand side. Maddison in the 10. He's also very influential in the 8 as well when he plays. And this is the point, is when he plays. Got 8 goals and 5 assists this season from 22 appearances, which is pretty good. Just 6% owned. He's home to Leicester this week, away to Brentford next week, and then home to United, home to Ipswich. You could even hold it for 3 or 4 weeks. I think Johnson, Solanke are going to be out for quite a while. He's probably fighting, in the number 6 or 8 roles, along with, Sarr and Bentancur and Basuma and that. But I just think if he puts in, good performance or 2, he's the kind of player who can kick on and really get some good points. So if you are looking for someone just a bit different from all the people we've talked about so far, I really like the look of James Maddison over these next few weeks. He's very when he starts and when he's playing, he is dangerous. Only 6% owned, and much lower than that ownership. Around the upper echelons. Not that we know what the upper echelons are, Rich. But Gaz Sack says Maddison does start tonight, but if you look at their bench, you'll see why they have got no one. They have the best players on the Spurs bench tonight, which will likely be quite similar when they play Leicester. Mikey Moore and Will Lancashire. They're the only ones I've even heard of. They're tough.
Yeah. Do you think Postecoglou is in danger of losing his job?
I hope not, mate. I love him. I say I love him. I wish he'd just embrace himself in the interview. He's clearly embracing his philosophy with what he's trying to do at Tottenham, right? He's sticking with it. I just wish he'd embrace that in the way he represents himself as well. instead of being so moody all the time with it, it's like if you're gonna do it. But then you can't be moody because you're doing it.
It didn't work out. Yeah.
It's your vision. So if it's your vision, you've got to be positive about it. Now I am very positive about it as a Spurs fan. I've said this, and and this will resonate with some Spurs fans or football fans, or not with others. I would rather lose 6-3 to Liverpool than lose 2-0, which is what we were doing under Mourinho and Conte. I'd rather, we'd have never beaten Man City 4-0. We would probably never have got to, we're still in 3 cups, right? All right, the league's been a disaster.
Yeah, well, you're leading. You might get to the final of the League Cup and win it. You don't know.
This is it, right? We've beaten Villa 4-1 a couple of months ago. We've beaten some big teams and played really well in spells when it clicks. When it doesn't click, it's obviously a disaster, right? But I think I remember last year when Newcastle had all their injury woes, Man United did. It was poor Newcastle, poor like Spurs. 4 of their top back 5 players, they're all missing. They're playing a 18-year-old centre midfielder at centre back. They've got no one, and they're taking a lot of stick, and he's trying to stick to his philosophy, which I love. So I hope he stays.
You're right.
And I really think in a year or two we will be thinking, God, I can't even believe we're thinking of getting rid of Postecoglou. He's just doing it. So I really think that he will come good. I just can't go back. Like, as a Spurs fan, I still think getting rid of Pochettino when we did, I still think it's the biggest managerial travesty in the whole of the Premier League history. Because, but anyway, we move on. I just feel like, Ange, if you're gonna do it, You've got like just be positive with it, and just be like,
well, fingers crossed they get in the top 8 tonight, and then they can concentrate on the league for a couple of months.
I'd rather him be like, do you know what? This is us. It didn't work out, mate. We go again next week. That's what we want, and that's what the players will buy into and thrive off. IMO.
Well said, mate.
Rich, we've got your team on screen.
Yeah.
Are you bench boosted this week, or?
Tell you
looking
what,
strong.
It's not easy. It's not easy. Look, I mean, what is it rated? 99% for the game week. Real trouble. I mean, I could play Rodgers. I want to play Lewis Hall. The only player I really are happy benching is Mikalenko away to Brighton. So who do you bench? Who do you bench here?
I've got the same problem, mate. I just do not know.
It's nuts. I've got João Pedro home to Everton, Raul Jimenez at home to Man United. I mean, there's no point in making a transfer, is there? It's just, I mean, this team, it's too. I can't say it's too strong because of the rank, but it's so strong that that I can't really make a transfer to it. It's a great team for stacking transfers, but equally, I still don't own Chris Wood. I still don't own Mbuemo. There's still vulnerabilities out there to get dinged by another player doing well. But I really have to save a transfer and go for 4. Raya away to Wolves. It doesn't really need to be switched to Alisson this week, does it? And given the other options we just talked about, Diaz, Gakpo, Mbuemo, reshuffling the team for the double, sensible thing is probably just to wait it out. But equally could be really. If I was in the top 100k, I would make the Alisson transfer, and I'd do it tonight to save the 0.1 that I could lose in waiting. But actually, I'm not, and I need something that's more higher upside, don't I? Really,
I think you should. I think if I was you, I would play. You have to play Rodgers. He's looked fantastic, and you have to play Hall. So I would play Rodgers and Hall. I think I would bench
Gabriel.
I'd bench Munoz.
Would you?
Because I think Brentford score is the only reason.
Okay.
I wouldn't bench Gabriel, mate.
Yeah, that's good. I think you've helped me out there. Because I just put Munoz in because of the home game, really.
Yeah, it was Brentford.
But Hall away at Southampton. Yeah, Brentford.
And it's either you have to bench João Pedro or Jimenez. I think of the rest of them. You're not going to bench Palmer. But I know Palmer's probably got the hardest game, but you're not benching him there. Or Bruno. Away to Fulham is a hard get. Like Fulham are going to beat United, aren't they? Do you think?
I think
I
they
see
are
that
gonna
being
beat
like
United.
3-1.
So why am I benching Jimenez then?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I would bench.
Yeah.
I would bench Bruno before Jimenez.
Hmm.
I think.
Wow.
If you just
Bruno Fernandes.
yeah, but he's not like that massively highly owned. There's a way to Fulham. I mean, that is a tough game nowadays. Really
I know
is.
it's hard. It's hard. It's not old school, is it? That's the problem.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not just
Yeah.
get the best
No.
players and they'll always be good. It's
No.
it's not that anymore. And
No.
I think João Pedro and Raul.
But he has been. The thing is, he has been returning, Bruno. You know, since his sending
Yeah,
off,
they don't penalties, mate.
He's got 9, he's got 7, and he's got you know, he even got 2 bonus when they got thrashed
Yeah, he
the other
did,
week, and somehow came out with 2 bonus points. So he's okay. He's ticking along, and he does have high ceiling. So I don't know. It's a really difficult one, but it doesn't scream make a transfer.
Absolutely
because that would
not.
just make it worse.
Yeah.
That'd make it even stronger. So I just think it's take 4 into next week, and from my son
Have some bench
work it all out.
points. You have some
Exactly.
bench. We'll all be having bench points this week. We're gonna have
Yeah.
the violin out next week. I think, mate. The pair of us are. Unsurprisingly, we recommend making no transfer this week on the optimized 99%. Rich, I'm not even sure you could make a transfer that could improve your team. If you were mad to go for it, it does recommend over the next 2 weeks taking out Jimenez, Bruno Fernandes, and Fabianski. And obviously, it's looking at next week and the week after for Gakpo, Ahmad, and Pickford. But this is the aggressive pro. It's looking at the real short-term gains.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, it's worth. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're probably not going to do it, Rich, because there's not massive benefit this particular game week. But
I just think having worked so hard to get to 3 or 4 transfers, I think just holding some of them through the other side is worth it. You know.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm in a similar boat. Pickford, I'll probably play Pickford this week away to Brighton, or Fabianski away to Villa. I'll have to play Pickford. Trent, Gabriel, got Robinson home to United. Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Buemo, Isak, João Pedro, and Chris Wood. And I've got Rodgers and Hall currently on my bench, so I'm definitely playing Rodgers. I think I'm probably definitely.
There's a lot.
Hall,
I mean, thank you to the chat for helping with the Rodgers call. It does make some sense, doesn't it?
Oh, you got to play Rodgers, mate. He's been on fire. He's so good, and West Ham are just all over the shop.
Wide open.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether to bench Wood. I think, but like Wood and Mbeumo have been my stalwarts. So I don't. And I've only got 0.1.
You've got a real problem, haven't you? You've got real problems, haven't you? I mean, what are you going to do about Rico Lewis? Are you just going to keep him, or are you thinking of moving him on?
I'll leave him for now. I'm not gonna. Well, I don't need him. I don't need to. I just leave it. Team is strong. How much is Gakpo? Is it
7-4?
Oh, so I can't even do Wood to Gakpo. Mind you, if I did that, I'd give myself even a bigger headache.
Right,
the only other thing I can do is use 2 transfers, but I don't want to do that.
Do Lewis? What about Lewis to Mikalenko?
Oh,
Wood to Gakpo.
How much is Mikalenko?
4-3.
Oh no, I still wouldn't have it enough. Oh no, I would. So I'd have it. No, I'd be 0.1 short, I think. Oh no,
would you?
Or was it? How much is he? 7.4? Did you say Gakpo? 7.5?
Yeah.
I'd have the exact money.
Oh, I'd hurry up and do that then. Lewis might drop. Mikalenko might rise.
Goodness me.
Yeah, there we are. Look, Freddie, Lewis to Mikalenko next week, Fergie.
Yeah, but then mind you, then I would have 5 doublers. And I'd bring Calvert-Lewin in next week for João Pedro.
You'd be maxed. Fantastic. That's cool.
And I'd have Gakpo this week as well.
Yeah, Lewis to Mikalenko makes a lot of sense for your 5th defender. Absolutely.
You're so naughty, Rich. There's you saving 4 transfers and you're telling me to spend my 2.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you what though, mate. I tell you what.
I tell you, it gets you to Gakpo for Ipswich. Gets you Mikalenko ready to go next week.
I'd have 5 doublers.
3.
And a how much is Calvert-Lewin? 5.4, isn't he?
5.4.
I can do João Pedro straight to Calvert-Lewin next week.
Yeah.
I've already, 6 doublers. I've already got.
I've never seen anyone get so happy about their fantasy team.
I've already
Fantastic.
got Mbuemo in place as well. Oh,
Yeah,
Rich, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'd have to do it tonight, though, wouldn't I?
You're there, mate. You're 100%.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, you might have to. Yeah,
I'm doing it. This is what it's all about. This for me is what it's all about. It's like, how can I turn down triple Liverpool at home to Ipswich, 6 doublers, all for free, all for free,
and the optimum 3 Liverpool,
and probably the I don't know if you can have an optimum 3 Everton, but they're.
No, I mean your team looks absolutely magnificent, doesn't it?
Don't say that now. You know what happens. Mind you, FPL Freddy, who would you bench? I have no. Exactly. I give myself a bigger headache of who to bench. I have no idea. Yeah. Come on, Rich, I like that. That's it.
Do it. It's done.
I'm gonna do it now. As soon as we get off, I'm gonna do it because six.
What does the AI say?
Gotta get Hwang.
You haven't done
that. Gotta get Hwang. Yeah. It doesn't say that. I know that. Mind you, do you know what? Let me just check if we haven't had. I'll check. We haven't had an update. Because we did. Oh, Shiv says Gakpo is 7.5.
Did he go up last night?
No, if he did, I screwed it. If he did
he go up?
It looks like it is. Tarkowski over Miko. I'll have a look at Everton defenders. I'm going to doing this live now, and I'm just looking at. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at Fantasy Football Hub. We've got Everton defenders.
Oh, it's telling you to sell Gordon.
Tarkowski's 4.8. No, Michaelenko's the cheapest starting. Gakpo is 7.5. Is he? Oh no, let's have a look. That was it, mate. Oh my, hang on, Liverpool. Gakpo is 7.5. No. Maybe that's why he's not recommending it. It's gone Gordon to Ahmad, Lewis to Virgil. So it's telling you to get Virgil in. And the aggressive one.
I don't think he should sell Gordon when he's away to Southampton. I think he's going to clean.
No. It always just looks at more. That is.
Never mind.
Killer.
So close. Oh dear. Never mind. I didn't know what Lewis.
Lewis
dropped down to like 4-6 now or something.
Do we take a hit?
Do you take a hit? We could go somewhere. Well, you could go somewhere else, I suppose. I don't know. Lewis down to. You could do Lewis down to Greaves. That'll get you the money.
Lewis to Greaves. Yeah, but then I haven't got. Yeah, but I haven't got the double then, have I? Out of
No,
but the whole point of the Michaelenko was to have the double.
You've still got four very playable defenders in Robinson and Hall. Then you could do Hall to Michaelenko next week.
Or I do João Pedro to Calvert-Lewin this week, which solves a benching. I know this sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it solves a benching headache this week. Bench Calvert-Lewin, bench Michaelenko. From my Gakpo.
Get another transfer next
week, and then I can
Lewis to Michaelenko, and then you can go Gakpo next week.
No. I'll take a hit this week. So Wood, João Pedro, and Lewis to Michaelenko, Calvert-Lewin, and Gakpo this week. Wow. I could bench the 2 Everton players. So I'm solving a headache for myself there. I've already got 6 doublers in for next week, and then with my transfer next week, I can get in like a Palace player or Vissa. I can go to. I'm doing it.
No, you're doing it. You're on one, mate. You're on one.
So.
Have you had a couple of drinks or something?
I haven't. I don't know. I just think it's there to be played.
It's there to be played. But I think the markets are quite quiet tonight, so you do have time to calm down and think it over the press conferences. So don't want to get carried away.
You taught me into this shit moves.
Carried away. Well, it's all been very amusing for everybody anyway, mate. I think having teams this good is not easy. You still can't get green arrows when the teams are this good. So what are we doing wrong?
Am I really going to take a hit for Dominic Calvert-Lewin?
I don't know. I wouldn't take a hit for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. No, I wouldn't.
You know that things have gone terribly wrong when you're doing stupid stuff like that, don't you? But
yeah, exactly.
And watch him now. He'll like come up. He'll pull off. He pulled off with like a hammy this week, and Joe Pedro will get 2 goals. I'm like, oh come on, Rich, what have I done? Banging my season up again. But it's what I'm here for, mate. I'm not here for
plodding
along.
No,
I'm here I'm here for the game.
Exactly, mate. You're doing well. You're all right. You're in the top half million now. You're going to romp on, mate. You'll be back in the mix by game week 30.
Yeah, but am I really going to do that with triple Everton?
Wouldn't it be surprising if they hand out a walloping to Leicester and then get a draw or a 1-0 win against Liverpool? It's not out of the question.
As it stands, I'm doing it. I am doing it because it's there. It is like the move is there. Solves me a benching headache this week as well. That's the thing. Stuart says bet DCL gets injured. This is the problem, isn't it? Is I'll bring him in for a hit and he'll get injured. I won't even get a minute out of him. Right, we're going over.
How many transfers have you got?
2.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can do it for a hit. I'm not scared of taking a hit just for because I think it is a relatively proactive.
I quite like the idea of that next week I'll have 4 transfers and you'll have 1. I quite like that.
I'll have 6 doublers and you'll have 2. Oh, you'll have 3. You'll have 3.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of this tomfoolery.
Dribble.
That is it from us this week. Thank goodness. Thanks so much for everyone who joined us in the chat. Those are going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast version, your support is very much appreciated. Rich, Andrew Savage says, Fergie does this every year. I do it every year. It's what I'm here for, Andrew.
Yeah.
But Man says DCL to get a hat trick.
Exactly. Go for it, man.
Rich, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people get hold of you?
On at Rich Clarke FPL on X and Blue Sky.
My handle on Twitter is at FFH_Fergie. This podcast video will be in the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watch, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast and leave a comment. Andrew Savage and Jagan are egging me on. Go on, Fergie. Do it. We're all behind you. Do it, Fergie. Do it, Fergie. I am. Yeah. I am doing it, mate.
All right. Good.
I'm doing it.
Do it and tweet it.
I'm doing it.
And tweet it out.
We'll be back next week. So Rich is away next week on holiday. Sunning yourself again.
Again? Well, for the first time since September, yeah.
Oh, September. I feel okay.
Yeah.
I will be here with Ben Krellin and someone else. Haven't invited everyone. Haven't invited anyone yet, but we will have someone else. It will be a threesome next week with myself and Ben Krellin and another. Looking ahead to double game week 24. What do you think Ben Krellin would make of my moves to bring in Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a hit, mate?
He might not think it's optimal, Fergie. He'd probably think. You should be saving your transfers.
In the meantime, we hope you all have a fantastic game in 23 and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.